As you know, I am not Laura. I don't even look like Laura. But she asked me to fill in for her tonight. And happy to do so. I always enjoy um, being with you guys. So last time I met with y'all, I talked about what I have come to believe to be the Buddha's first teaching about being able to look into your own darkness with acceptance and compassion and invitation. When he said to Mara, I see you. And I have, as I've been continuing to contemplate that, to me that looks like the seed of what later became the first noble truth. The truth of suffering, which is what I'm going to talk about tonight. Buddha, before he was Buddha, was exposed to suffering for the first time in his mid-20s. And he didn't know what to make of it. But he wanted to find a solution. And he set out to do that, and what he discovered was that suffering is just plain true, and amplified by everything we do to ignore it, pretend it's not here, wish it was otherwise. So he articulated the first noble truth, which is the truth of suffering. And the word for that in Pali is Dukkha. We've talked about Dukkha before, and there's an ongoing debate. Buddhism is, among other things, a great debate society. There is an ongoing debate on what Dukkha actually means when you translate it. My favorite that I have heard is the wheel is loose on the cart. I like that. I like that a lot. It has a lot less baggage. It's simply a truth that we're trying to go down the road and something is out of balance. So we're going to explore that a little bit tonight. But first, let's sit. Why don't we chant refuge? Why don't we do a call and response? Buddham Saranam Gacchami Dharmam Saranam Gacchami Sangam Saranam Gacchami Dutiyampi Buddham Saranam Gacchami Dharmam Saranam Gacchami Sangam Saranam Gacchami Tatiyampi Buddham Saranam Gacchami Tatiyampi Dharmam Saranam Gacchami Tatiyampi Sangam Saranam Gacchami. I go to the Buddha as my refuge. I go to the Dharma as my refuge. I go to the Sangha as my refuge. Let's start by assuming a meditation posture. When you assume a meditation posture, you're signaling to your mind and your psyche that you're entering into something other than what came before. A special space, an intentional space. We bring some intentionality to the practice, to our posture. A posture in which the back is straight but not rigid. The body is relaxed but alert. And it's like if you had a string at the crown of your head tugging up a little bit and straighten the muscles of your neck without straining, and tucking your chin a little bit, just to straighten your spine at the top. And let yourself be aware that you are sitting in this unique posture for this purpose. And just notice noticing being about to sneeze. Just notice how your body feels. Letting gravity do its thing and pull you into your seat. Notice how your body feels in the space in which it's occupying, the ambient temperature of the room. Just coming into your body, which is always in the present moment. The mind may wander around and think about this in the past, or that in the future, or this plan, or that memory. But the body is where you are. Just being aware of the sensations of your bottom on the cushion or the chair, of your hands in your lap. And no matter where the mind may wander off to, there's really nothing happening except we're all just sitting here in this moment. And let your awareness come to the sensations of the body breathing. You're not trying to do anything with the breath. You're just following it with your attention. And let's take a few intentional, slow, deep breaths. About 3/4. Receiving the in-breath, and when you get to the top of the in-breath, being aware of the sensations of letting go as your body settles into the out-breath. And exhale, maybe a little longer. And notice the point where your body settles, if you can, at the bottom of the exhale. And just rest there for a moment before you resume breathing in. Long, slow, deep breath. Noticing where your body transitions to an exhale. And then ride with the breath with your attention all the way down to the bottom of that settled point again. Letting your breathing return to normal. Continuing, as you breathe in, notice the muscles in your face and around your eyes. And as you breathe out, just let those muscles relax as much as you can. Breathing in, noticing your shoulders, receiving the in-breath, your shoulders may move up. And just letting them settle on the out-breath. If you notice any tension, you can release that too if you can. Just continuing down the body as you breathe in, noticing any tension or tightness. Just breathe into it. And breathe it out, letting go to whatever degree you can. And as you breathe out, you can rest the thinking mind. It doesn't have to interpret or narrate or churn. Just letting your mind settle as much as you can. And continue aware, focused on the sensations of the body, breathing in and breathing out into that settle point. And thoughts arise as they will. Just notice. Without getting involved in the narrative or the story or the plan. And step back and notice thinking just as a phenomenon in itself. It doesn't matter what the thought stream is about. And when you notice, just begin again. Returning your focus to the breath. And riding, letting your awareness ride the rhythm of the body, breathing in and out. And returning again and again. thoughts arise, feelings may arise. They come, they go. You can just kind of watch them come and go. Nothing new. Nothing to attach to. Just start again, bringing your awareness back to your breathing. And as we come towards the end of this sitting, I invite you to just check in with your body, check in with your mind. Notice if you're a little more settled than you were before we started, a little more peaceful in the moment. Quieter in the mind, even if there's a little chatter. Whatever your experience is, it's okay. Just noticing what it is. And let that settledness become the point from which you view and move around in the world. Let it help you see the world through the eyes of kindness, compassion, to walk around and bring the peace of your presence, in whatever state it is, into your interactions with the people in your households, the people you meet on the street, the checker at the grocery store. Just allowing the calm of this sitting to go with you to the degree that it does. Don't worry about it. To the benefit of all beings around you. May the benefits of this practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at ease and at peace. Thank you for your practice. I should let you know we're having something of a thunderstorm right outside the window. So if I disappear, you can assume that I have suddenly found total emptiness, or you can assume that the lights went out in Port Richey, Florida. So I'll leave the choice up to you. So, Buddha had been wandering for some period of years. His name was Siddhartha. And he came to a tree, not the Bodhi tree that we talk about, outside of Bodh Gaya, India, across the river. There's a shrine there that I've been to. It's kind of cool. And he was still convinced at that time that the path was in asceticism and mortification of the body. And he sat there until he almost starved to death. And you see these images of Buddha looking like with a beard and totally emaciated, and subsisting on 1 grain of rice a day. And 2 children found him. A buffalo boy, an untouchable named Svasti, and a Brahmin girl named Sujata. And Sujata made him an offering of rice milk. And he started to come out of it. And Svasti didn't have anything to offer. So he made him a pillow out of kusa grass that he could sit on. It's this tall, stalky grass that grows. And he realized in that moment that extreme pleasure seeking and extreme mortification were not the answer, and that the way was in the middle, which is why we now talk about the middle way. So he continued the journey until he got to Bodh Gaya, and he knew, it is now Bodh Gaya, he knew he was on the verge of awakening. And he sat down in front of the Bodhi tree, under the Bodhi tree, and entered a deep state, and stayed there for several days. The mythology is that he sat for 3 days and did battle with Mara, as I talked about last week. Mara, the god of illusion, Mara, the god of darkness, Mara presenting all of our darkness, what Jung referred to as the shadow, and defeated Mara simply by looking right at him and saying, I see you. Let's have tea. And as I said last time, and I've said a lot lately, Mara is often depicted as like as this demon or something like that. I think it should have been his mirror image. And he completely accepted all of his own doubts, all of his own fears, all of his own stuff, and awakened in that moment. Just cast aside everything that blocked him from being totally aware and awake in the present. And awakened. And continued to sit there for some period of days. It's called the period of the unwinking gaze. If you ever go to Bodh there's like all these markers where he sat unwinking, the unblinking gaze. And he didn't know how to explain it. And he wasn't sure how to teach it. So he resumed his wandering, and he met up with these 5 ascetic monks who he had practiced before. And when they saw him coming, they realized he had abandoned asceticism. And to them, that meant he abandoned the path, and they had decided that they would just shun him, ignore him. But they couldn't, just the power of his energy. And they jumped to their feet, and they bowed, and he sat, and he taught what became known as the turning of the Dharma wheel, the 4 Noble Truths, and the Eightfold Path. And the first noble truth is the truth of suffering, which, when I first heard it, was interpreted as life is suffering, and I really no longer believe that. Life includes suffering. Life includes being out of balance. Life includes pain. As I said before, the wheel is loose on the cart. It's a bumpy ride. And the beauty of this teaching, well, first of all, some people have interpreted that as like kind of depressing, but it's not really. Because many of us have gone through so much of our lives rejecting our difficult experiences. I don't want it. We reject our grief. We reject our sorrow. We want it to stop. We want to make it stop. And culturally, we don't really have permission for the difficulty. The whole don't worry, be happy thing. And the beauty of the first noble truth is that it gives us permission to have whatever experience we are having. If we are drenched in sorrow, it's okay. If we're elated and enthused, that's okay, and everything in the middle. On the difficult days, it gives us permission to feel like it's difficult. To not have to go to, as some of us often do, some version of, I'm not okay. This is not okay. I'm not talking about like accepting unacceptable behavior from other people. I'm talking about accepting our experience of that. And to me, there's a connection between that moment of awakening when he totally accepted his own darkness, and then went on to teach, at least in my view, that the next piece of that is we have to totally accept our experience no matter what it is. And all too often, we meet our experience with some form of attachment or aversion. I don't like that. I do like that. We tend to gravitate towards the parts we like and reject the parts we don't. So we end up what one friend of mine used to call stalking a wild pendulum between like, I'm okay, I'm not okay. The first ever Dharma talk that I ever went to was in the Bedford-Stuyvesant section of Brooklyn. My friend John Wilson took me to this Zendo. in Brooklyn. And it was, you go upstairs in this brownstone row house, and you get out of the elevator opens into a Zendo. I'd never been to Zendo before. And he brought me there because Master Sun Sanim, who is a fairly well-known Zen master, was teaching there, and he wanted me to see this guy. So we sat, and I was restless because I didn't have a lot of experience. And he begins his talk. And there was a takeaway that I still remember. He said, I'm going to do a really bad Korean accent. He said, be like cat. Cat sit. Cat just say, who am I? Cat just say meow. Be like cat. Just say meow. Life hands you a difficult time. Just say meow. It's an opportunity for self-compassion. There's nothing wrong. It's just a difficult time. We amplify our suffering when we insist to ourselves or others that it has to be something other than what it is. The second noble truth is attachment, attached to craving permanence in an ever-changing world, attached to things being different than what they are, attached to I felt better 15 minutes ago. So what we're talking about is liberation from attachment and aversion of our own experience. I'm having a very interesting time in my life right now. I turned 70 over the weekend. Congratulate me, I'm still standing.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. And I've noticed this with some people who are somewhat older than me. You get to a certain point in your life and some of your friends start dying off. And 2 friends of mine passed away in June. I found out last week that I have another old friend from high school who is in hospice. And I have another friend that I've known for 30 years. He's 80 years old. He got hit by a car a couple of weeks ago. It's really distressing. It's really saddening. I've had some anxiety with that. And I have decided, and the work is deciding that this is normal and I'm okay. I'm having a normal experience of this sort of thing. I don't have to reject it. I don't have to need it to be otherwise. When I first got sober 34 years ago, the reasons why I had been anesthetizing myself all my life came into my face like immediately. It was horrendous. It was difficult. It was traumatic. Symptoms of PTSD, intense depression and anxiety. And the most important thing someone said to me at that time was, Ken, you're having a normal experience of early sobriety. So there's a woman in an AA meeting that I go to pretty regularly, and she's having that same experience. I don't know if it's as intense as what was happening to me, but she's having that intense early sobriety experience, and I was able to say to her, this is really normal. Pain, dissatisfaction, discomfort is a normal part of life. Where we get in trouble is when we think that it's not, and we should be feeling differently. And the alternative to that sort of rejection, of course, is self-compassion, because I'm always talking about that. If you had a friend who was suffering or grieving, you wouldn't criticize them for the way that they are in that experience, unless maybe they're harming other people, but that's usually not the case. We reserve that for ourselves. We wonder whether we're doing it right. I was a grief counselor for 25 years, but we always do it right. We're always doing the best we can. It's always okay. It's just uncomfortable. It's just a different paradigm than I'm okay, I'm not okay. What if it's more like I'm comfortable and I'm not comfortable? We grow up believing that there are good and bad feelings. Happiness, good. Joy, good. Anger, bad. Anger gets a bad rap for the wrong reasons. I'm a fan of anger. I like anger. I have no problem with it. But what I'm suggesting is a different paradigm, that our feelings are not good or bad. They're just pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. Or pleasant, unpleasant, and as one friend of mine likes to say. The first noble truth, the first awakening under the Bodhi tree, I see you, gives us permission to completely accept everything there is about ourselves. The expression of the first noble truth gives us permission to go on beyond that and accept everything there is about our experience. We're living in a very difficult time socially. In a lot of ways, the country's being dismantled. It's really painful to watch. It's okay to be with the pain. At least one of us is starting a new career. It's totally nerve-wracking. You're waiting for someone to jump out of the ceiling and say, you're screwing it up, go home. Get a job washing dishes somewhere. That's a totally normal experience. It's okay to feel that way. What if it turns out to be true that we really are okay no matter how we feel? This doesn't relieve us from having to take action on things, but this kind of point of view that we can come from an okay, centered, this is appropriate to feel this way space, makes it easy to be more effective when we are in action. We're less likely to get paralyzed. We're less likely to get scared. Courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is I'm scared and I'm doing it anyway. Which also might be the definition of madness. And that's fine as long as I am afraid to step out in front of a moving train. That's a good thing. I'm not going to do that. But I was in my job at the newspaper for a long time, and I hated it completely for the last year. Really just hated getting up and going to work in the morning. And I spent a year doing that, longer than I should have been doing it, because I was afraid to make a move, because it was scary and uncomfortable. Turned out to be the best thing I could have done. So take your stuff, take your fear, take your doubts, take your uncomfortableness, take your grief, and take it with you. Because what we resist persists. The degree to which we reject our own experience of whatever is happening is the degree to which we amplify our suffering. That's the beauty of the First Noble Truth. The first time I went to India, I went with a Tibetan teacher, and Tibetan Buddhism for me can be really, really complicated. And I returned completely blown open by the Dharma and craving a simpler expression. I'm a recovering drug addict. I like all the paraphernalia, the robes and the flags and the chants. I like that. But I really was craving a simpler expression of the Dharma. And I went to see Gil Fonsdale, and it was his first Dharma talk they had just bought the building that is now the Insight Meditation Center. And there was no formal announcement. The word just got out that he was going to do a Dharma talk. And he said, since this is a new beginning, let's start at the beginning. Let's start with the First Noble Truth. Start with the Four Noble Truths. And then he said, the beauty of Buddha's teaching is that it's simple. And I'm crying. I feel like I found a home. But that's the beauty of it. You can make it as complicated as you want. The simple truth that life includes difficulty. The wheel is loose on the cart, and we are still okay. And we have to practice this. You know, my friend Janita Pro, who is my clinical supervisor when I was at the hospice, she wrote a book about this. And one of the lines in her book, it says, and so I remind myself as often as I must, which is very often. We have to remind ourselves all the time. So, I invite you to be okay with yourself. I invite you to be okay with your experience. I invite you to be compassionate in the mirror. Thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you. It was very good for me.
And the lights are still on.
Thank you.
It's a little loud outside the window.
A question for you. So, Laura often sums up the Four Noble Truths as, shit happens. You can make it worse. You don't have to. Here's how. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How do you express it in simple terms, Ken? I'm curious.
It is true. Shit happens. You know, I mean, I live in a hurricane zone. You know.
Yeah.
Philip Moffat wrote a really great book on the Four Noble Truths. I can't remember the name of it right now. Dancing with Life, I think it is. And it was in the second Noble Truth, his discussion of the second Noble Truth, that I came upon the concept, which has become very core to the way I teach. Your experience is in two parts. Here's what happens. Here's what we tell ourselves about what happens.
Mm-hmm.
These things are separate. Now, and most people don't know that because most people aren't aware that the narrative is just, you know, Buddha said in the beginning of the Dharmapada, with our thoughts we make the world. We describe the world that we're in and we believe that that is what it is. So, my first week in grad school, I've told this story here before, they had us read an article on decision making in the Journal of Noetic Sciences. And the takeaway for me was the Hopi Indians believe in every situation there's 88 possibilities. I don't know how they came up with that. I don't care. I just like it. Right? Here's what happens. That's cast in stone. I mean, it happens, right? Here's what I'm telling myself about that. There are 88 possibilities over here. I used to do the Sunday morning meditations. Some of you, Julie, I used to see you there. I miss seeing you on a regular basis.
Yeah, me too.
And I'm in the middle of that and I get a text. Trouble in paradise. It's like, what does that even mean? What it means is, while I was in here doing this, the ceiling in my guest room caved in. Luckily, there was nobody sleeping there. Okay, there's 88 things I can tell myself about this. I could go to some version of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, how terrible, how terrible, how terrible. I could go to some version of, well, it's just money. So, you know, that's, you know, simplified. Shit happens. And how we decide to describe that to ourselves determines the degree to which we're going to suffer with it. My friend Tony is going to die. He's in hospice. You know, how do I deal with that? You know, I deal with that by doing the best I can to accept the grief of that. That doesn't mean I like it. You know, I've said this before, you know, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, some of you might be familiar with that. Nowhere at the end of any one of the steps is to say, and you will like it. right? The first noble truth, life includes suffering. It doesn't say life includes suffering and you like it. So when life feels like a struggle, it's okay to say, to remind yourself that you're okay. That's the simple piece of it. Shit happens, and how we choose to receive that, and it is a choice, determines the degree to which we suffer with it. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Well, what about 3 and 4? How do you summarize those?
Well, the third noble truth is when you let go of attachment, right? Which sounds simple enough, except there's a whole set of disciplines to train ourselves to do that, right? There's 8 components to that. You know, 8 and 4 is 12, the Four Noble Truths in the Eightfold Path. There's 12 steps. There's 108 beads in a mala that's divisible by 12. Jesus had 12 disciples. 12 keeps showing up. The third noble truth suggests that when we resolve our inclination for craving, we will resolve our suffering. It also suggests that I don't have a switch like on the back of my head behind my right ear that I can just dink. If that thing existed, I would have charged everybody $10,000 for one session therapy and sent them home. It suggests that there's a set of principles and disciplines that are necessary to effect that change. That's my view on that. And somebody else will have a different view on that. I'm having a dialogue with some Sri Lankan monk who found me on Facebook, and he has a whole take on, he's very much into like this translates to that, and this means that. And my take is, how does this inform how I move in the world? Because without that, the rest is just useless.
Yeah.
At least to me. How are you going to let the Dharma inform how you do your life? That's the real question. And the Eightfold Path suggests a way to do that. The first step of the 12 steps is I'm powerless and my life is unmanageable. That sounds an awful lot like dukkha to me.
Yeah.
I tend to ramble. I'm okay with it. Anybody have anything else?
I really like the image of the cart with the loose wheel because it shows how we struggle. And I like that image.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't recall hearing that one before. I like that too.
I wish I could tell you who, I was like surfing, reels and videos, and I saw some monk, guy in robes, giving a talk on dukkha, and that was his interpretation. I just decided I really liked that.
I also like that it's still moving,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still moving. I mean, you're still breathing in and out and walking through your days. It's just a little hard sometimes. Not always, but it's a false interpretation that has been pinned on the Dharma that it's like glum. Life is suffering. No, man, it's joyous. It's like we get to have this experience and still know we're okay. How cool is that? Well, I guess that's all there is for the moment.
Now you got me curious. I'm going to go look up the 12 steps of AA.
Well, if you just Google the 12 steps, it'll show up right in front of you.
Yeah.
There's millions.
I never did look it up before. Curious.
Well, the first step is we're powerless over. It was developed by alcoholics, so it says we're powerless over alcohol. Our lives have become unmanageable. But now there's 300 12-step programs. So powerless over drugs, powerless over dope, powerless over compulsive eating, whatever. The second step is came to believe that a power greater than myself can restore me to sanity, which sounds an awful lot like. And then the third step is make a decision to surrender to that, right? And the parallels are to me are like right in my face. The second step in the second noble truth is came to accept that this is what it is. Right? Stop craving for it to be something else. And then in the third step is make a decision about what you're going to do with that. And a bunch of Christian white guys in 1935 made a decision to turn my will and my life over to the care of God as we understood it. So the genius of that is in the last part of that is the God of your understanding. And then the fourth step is you take a searching and fearless moral inventory of yourself. If you look at the Eightfold Path, that's what it is. Kevin Griffin, who's a really cool Dharma teacher, and I chose him as my mentor in the teacher training, wrote a book about this called One Breath at a Time. It's really good. He lays it out on the relationship between the Dharma and the 12 steps.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
No, very cool.
Kevin's very cool, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you never actually need the steps.
I hope not. But I think we can all learn from each other. So
Right.
Yeah. Well, this is a little bit of field. I think every religious tradition, including Buddhism, has a mystic tradition connected to it. And a mystic tradition to me is the tradition that says, go out and have a direct experience of the sacred and it will heal you. The Dharma offers that, the 12 steps offer that, so it's very distilled. So.
yeah. Yeah, well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it, Ken.
Thank you guys. It's good to see y'all.
Yes, it was great. Thank you.
Well, I'll see you next Monday.
I
Okay,
will likely
bye.
be here.
Hey.
Take care.
Bye con Dios.
Adios.